The people you admire most would ignore you in real life. The CEOs, the top 1%, the quiet billionaires, the operators behind the curtain. You watch them, study them, quote them. In your head, you feel close to them. In their world, you don't exist. If you passed them on the street, they wouldn't notice you. If you sent a DM, it would vanish into the pile. If you asked for just 5 minutes, it would be 5 minutes they'd never give you. You've tasted that silence before. The unanswered messages, the polite rejections, the "I'll let you know" that never turns into anything. You tell yourself it's fine. You pretend you don't care. You say they're overrated, that you'll build alone, that you don't need anyone. But a colder part of you knows that's a lie. Power moves through people. Access is leverage. Proximity is acceleration. One introduction can collapse 5 years of struggle. One powerful ally can shield you from disasters that would destroy you on your own. One call, one message, one quiet recommendation behind closed doors can change everything. And right now, you're outside those doors. You see the private circles, the dinner tables where deals are made before the public ever hears a rumor, the group chats where opportunities are traded like cards, the quiet alliances. You're not in those rooms. You're watching from the cheap seats. Every time you try to move closer, you feel it, the invisible wall, the ignored reach out, the fake enthusiasm that goes nowhere, the professional smile that says, "Stay in your place." Here is the harsh truth. Powerful people don't see you the way you see yourself. They don't care that your intentions are pure, that your heart is good, that you just want to learn. Their minds run one brutal filter. Is this person an asset, a threat, or a liability? Most people show up as liabilities: needy, emotional, time-consuming, easily offended, unstructured. They drain more than they give. Some people show up as nothing: forgettable, generic, no edge, no signal. Very few appear as assets: calm, useful, contained, capable of adding leverage without adding chaos. You were given the wrong script. You were told, be nice, be honest, be yourself, network, ask for advice, put yourself out there. That advice creates surface-level contacts, LinkedIn connections, empty promises. It does not get you truly powerful people. In the world of power, niceness is background, neediness is disqualification, naivety is punished. You are not evaluated by your feelings. You are evaluated by your impact, your control, and your cost. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. He watched how princes moved, how courtiers fought for access, how men were destroyed for a single misstep near power. He saw who got invited inside the palace and who was used, discarded, or quietly killed. His conclusion was simple: you don't get near power by being good. You get near power by being useful and dangerous in the right measure. You want to connect with powerful people today? Forget the self-help fluff. Forget the networking cliches. You need laws, cold, strategic, psychological laws. 13 ruthless laws for crossing the threshold from audience to asset. The first law: never approach from below, even if you're below. Most people introduce themselves with submission baked into their words. I'm a huge fan. Your work changed my life. I was wondering if you had any advice for someone just starting. Translation in their mind: another compliment followed by another request. Low leverage, high cost. Strategic approach: 3 months ago, you said most people waste their first 4 hours of the day. I turned that into a time-blocking experiment for my team. We got a 19% jump in output. If you're interested, I'll send you the framework. Might be useful for your audience or ops. Now you're not noise. You're an immediate upgrade. If you're a researcher, you don't say, I could do research for you. You say, I spent a night digging into your top 3 competitors. 2 are exploiting angles you've never mentioned. If you want, I'll send a 1-page breakdown. Now you're not a fan. You're a weapon they can point. Powerful people think in terms of friction and leverage. Does this person reduce friction? Does this person create leverage? Or do they add more clutter and emotional cost? You answer that question with precision, not promises. Never ask, how can I be useful? Show specifically how you already are. The third law: be selectively visible, not constantly available. Clout chasers burn themselves out trying to stay on the radar. They comment on every post, react to every story, send a DM for every update. They think frequency creates familiarity, and familiarity creates connection. It doesn't. It creates contempt. Powerful people are surrounded by noise. Their feeds are flooded. Their inboxes are war zones. Their attention is a limited resource they guard like oxygen. When they see your name too often without feeling impact, they don't think loyal. They think desperate. You become background. You become a pattern they ignore. You must be the sniper, not the street performer. You appear rarely. You strike with precision. Then you vanish back into your own world. Imagine two patterns. Pattern 1. Every time they post, you're there. This hits. Fire. So true. They scroll past your name the way you skip ads. Pattern 2. Once every 3 weeks, a message appears. You mentioned decision fatigue in your last podcast. There's a 2019 study on high-performing executives that confirms your point, but adds a darker angle. 2 insights you probably haven't seen. If you want, I'll send the paper and my notes. Which one creates a pause? Which one feels like signal, not noise? Scarcity creates value. Mystery creates questions. The person who appears only with something sharp becomes someone whose absence is noticed. You are not here to be their cheerleader. You're here to be a rare resource. The fourth law: mirror their reality, not your fantasy. Most people approach power wearing the lens of their own need. They think, if I could just get close, they'll mentor me, they'll validate me, they'll see my potential and open doors. That fantasy leaks into every word: the overeager tone, the overlong explanation, the way you light up when they reply, the subtle emotional grab when you say, "This would mean a lot to me." To them, it feels heavy. It feels like work. Powerful people live in a different reality: pressure, risk, judgment, constant decisions, constant exposure. Everyone they meet wants something. Every interaction is a calculation of cost versus gain. They're not looking for more emotional weight. They're looking for relief. So you step out of your fantasy and into their frame. Instead of asking, how can they help me? You ask, what does their day actually feel like? What keeps them up at 2 a.m.? What drains them? What bores them? Who do they trust and why? Then you calibrate. You know they're flooded with praise. You keep your admiration to one line, then move straight to value. You know everyone's trying to extract time. You make it clear you don't need theirs to function. You know they're surrounded by talkers. You become the calm, concise voice that lands and leaves. You're not being fake, you're being strategic. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn how not to be good and use that knowledge as circumstances require. You must learn how not to be your default needy self and use that control to move through their world without triggering their defenses. The person who insists on being fully authentic in every context is a liability to everyone else. Sovereignty means knowing which version of you the moment demands. The fifth law: guard your emotional temperature like a fortress. Powerful people test without testing. They watch your reactions more than your words. They notice the micro tremors. Do you get flustered, defensive, overexcited? Do you break frame when pressure hits? You think you're just passionate. They see volatility. Volatility is risk. Risk is cost. Cost gets cut. They ignore your message. Do you double text with a hint of frustration? They cancel a call last minute. Do you send a passive-aggressive, "No worries"? They disagree with your idea. Do you start defending your ego instead of adjusting your position? Every reaction is a data point. Every crack is a weakness they log. You need inner stillness, not fake chill, actual containment. You feel the sting when they ignore you. You feel the urge to chase when they pull back. You feel the anger when they dismiss your idea, but you don't act from it. They cancel, you respond, no problem, link still works when you're ready. They criticize, you say, that's fair, here's how I'd adjust based on that. No collapse, no complaint, no pedestal. Principle, if your mood depends on their validation, you are not ready to be near them. The sixth law, be legible in value, illegible in motive. Powerful people are paranoid for good reason. They've been used, flattered, betrayed, and manipulated more times than you've pitched an idea. When someone new appears, they run a quick scan. What does this person want from me? If they can't see your value, you're dismissed. If they can't see your motive, you're suspect. But here's the nuance. You want your value to be crystal clear, while your long-term motive remains opaque. Clear value means a defined lane. I'm dangerous with X type of problem. Here's proof. No confusion, no sales pitch, just evidence. Opaque motive means you're not obviously extractive. You're not transparently climbing. You're useful, but your end game is not obvious. For example, you send them a resource and add, no response needed. If it helps, good. If not, no harm. I'm building my own thing either way. You've shown independence, you've shown value, you've left your motive ambiguous enough that they can't box you in to desperate fan or short-term taker. This creates what we call productive uncertainty. They know you're not just there to be liked. They can't quite tell if you're altruistic, strategic, or playing a longer game. That uncertainty keeps you interesting. It keeps you safe from being underestimated. The ones who scream, "I'm just here to help," are usually lying. The ones who calmly say, "Our interests might align," are playing chess. The seventh law, own the silence. Let them wonder. Most people panic in silence. They send a message, they see it's read, no reply. They wait 6 hours, nothing. They start drafting a follow-up. "Hey, just checking in. No pressure, just wanted to make sure you saw this." Every follow-up lowers your value. Powerful people live in silence. They sit in it, they use it, they let others squirm while they decide. If you can't handle their silence, you're signaling you're not ready for their world. So you do the opposite. You send your message, your resource, your insight. Then you say nothing. You let it sit. You let them digest. You let them wonder why you're not chasing. This creates a subtle tension. They start to ask themselves, why isn't this person following up? Do they not care? Are they talking to someone else? Did I misread their interest? Now you're not the desperate one. They are. Silence is a form of communication. It says, my time is scarce. My world does not stop for your reply. I am not waiting. I am building. When you finally do respond, if you do, it's on your timeline, not theirs. Principle, the person who can sit in silence longest controls the frame. The eighth law, never ask for mentorship. Become the person they'd want to mentor. The word mentor has become a code for someone who will give me their time for free because I asked nicely. Powerful people don't mentor beggars. They mentor investments. When you ask, will you be my mentor, you're asking them to adopt you. You're asking them to take on your problems, your confusion, your learning curve. That's a massive ask disguised as humility. Instead, you become the type of person they'd naturally want to guide. You execute fast. You think clearly. You bring them insights instead of questions. You show progress, not potential. You make them look good by association. Then, mentorship happens organically. They see you building something real. They see you using their advice without needing hand-holding. They see you as a reflection of their own standards. And one day, they reach out. Hey, I've been watching what you're doing. Let's talk. That is the only mentorship that matters, the kind you earn by becoming undeniable.
The ninth law, move as a peer in training, not a fan in waiting. There's a silent hierarchy people accept without question. At the top, the big names. Below, the audience. Most never question their place. They self-identify as spectators. They joke about being fans while fantasizing about being equals. Your language betrays you. I've followed you for years. I'm your biggest fan. I've watched every video. You probably get this a lot, but every time you say this, you write yourself into the role of spectator. You are telling them, you produce, I consume. You move, I watch. Powerful people don't bring spectators into their inner circle. They bring in co-players, co-strategists, quiet killers building their own empires. So, you shift your identity. You still acknowledge their work, but briefly, almost clinically, one line. Then you talk like someone building their own fortress. Not, your book changed my life, but your book gave me a language for what I was already doing. Since then, I've applied X idea in Y way and got Z result. Now you're no longer just a receiver, you're a parallel builder. You also don't ask for permission to exist near them. You move as if you belong in those conversations long before they agree. That doesn't mean arrogance, it means posture. Fan posture, it would be an honor just to be in the room. Peer in training posture, if I'm in the room, the quality of the room goes up. You're not lying to them, you're programming yourself. If you see yourself as a fan, every interaction will feel like a favor. If you see yourself as an emerging peer, every interaction becomes a strategic move between two evolving players. The 10th law, anchor yourself in a domain of competence. Powerful people have no use for multi-potential, kinda good at everything, master of none energy. That's chaos, that's maintenance, that's work. They look for weapons, defined, sharpened, reliable. If you want to be close to power, you need a domain where you are not average, where you can operate at a level that removes friction from their life or adds leverage to their moves. That domain could be technical, design, code, marketing, operations, legal, or psychological, negotiation, conflict resolution, persuasion, research, or relational, deal-making, recruiting, discrete information gathering. What matters is not the label. What matters is depth. Most people present themselves like this. I do a bit of marketing, some design, a little consulting, and I'm also into crypto and psychology. Translation: I am nothing in particular. You present yourself like this. I build systems that take chaotic operations and turn them into predictable output, revenues up, drama down. Or, I find weaknesses in public narratives and exploit them for attention. Or, I design funnels that turn random attention into structured revenue. Anchored, clear, dangerous. Then when you approach power, you're not saying, please notice me. You're saying, here's the exact way I tilt the floor. The 11th law, become rumor-worthy in your own world. Powerful people talk to each other, much more than you think. They share names, they share warnings, they share recommendations. Have you heard of this guy? This girl is sharp, keep an eye on her. Don't work with him, he's chaotic. She's brilliant, but unstable. You want your name to move through all 3 layers of the social structure, below you, around you, and above you. Below you, people you've helped or worked with should speak your name with a mixture of respect and caution. They over-deliver, but don't waste their time. Around you, peers should see you as someone whose standards force them to rise or get left behind. Above you, powerful people should hear your name more than once from unrelated sources. You create this by executing where you are, not fantasizing about where you want to be. You become so solid in your domain, so disciplined in your behavior, that your reputation becomes a quiet storm. Then, when your name finally reaches a powerful person's ears, you're not coming in cold, you're coming in pre-framed. Oh, I've heard of you. That sentence rewrites the whole dynamic. The 12th law, integrate your shadow instead of disguising it. Here's where most nice people fail. They try to get close to power while clinging to a self-image of being harmless, pure, and endless giving. They feel guilty about desire. They feel ashamed of ambition. They hide their envy, their competitiveness, their anger. So those forces leak out sideways: passive aggressiveness, hidden resentment, weird emotional swings. Powerful people sense this instantly. They've seen the nice ones turn vicious the moment they feel entitled to more. The most dangerous betrayal comes from someone who never admitted they had teeth. If you want real access to power, you must do something uncomfortable. You must know your own darkness intimately. You must admit you want things, influence, safety, freedom, maybe revenge. You must admit you're capable of manipulation, of cruelty, of selfishness, because you are. Everyone is. The difference between a pawn and a sovereign is not who has a shadow, it's who owns it. When you integrate your shadow, you stop pretending. You don't have to broadcast your darkness, you simply carry it with awareness. You can sit across from a ruthless player and not flinch because there is nothing in you you're terrified they'll expose. Your calm becomes real. Your lack of neediness becomes real. You're not trying to use them to complete you. You're choosing, consciously, whether an alliance serves your path. Machiavelli wasn't teaching people to become cartoon villains. He was teaching them to see that morality, in politics, is a costume worn over self-interest. When you understand your own self-interest nakedly, you stop being shocked by other people's. That makes you harder to manipulate, harder to guilt, harder to use. You stop approaching power like a child hoping the adults will do right by you. You approach power like an adult who understands everyone is playing a game, and you intend to play yours well. The 13th law: never forget you are building your own throne. This is the final filter. If you chase powerful people because you want to sit on their lap, you will be used up and discarded. If you approach them because you are quietly building your own fortress and their world is adjacent to yours, everything changes. You are not trying to live in their castle. You are studying their architecture. You are not begging for a seat at their table. You are learning how tables are built, who gets invited, and why. Your interactions with them become strategic, not worshipful. Does this alliance move me closer to my own sovereignty? Does this connection compromise my autonomy? Am I being pulled into their orbit, or are we intersecting as two independent forces? Powerful people can feel when you have your own center of gravity. They might not say it, but they register it. They move differently around you. You're not one more satellite, you're a rising planet. Everything we've talked about so far, approaching laterally, bringing a blade, controlling your emotions, calibrating to their reality, integrating your shadow, feeds into this one outcome. You stop trying to escape being a pawn by clinging to someone else's power. You become a player. Now you need to turn this from theory into muscle.
For the next 7 days, you run an experiment. No affirmations, no vision boards, no begging emails. You treat this like a covert operation in hostile territory. Day 1, you rewrite your posture. Go through your messages, your drafts, your comments, anywhere you've talked to someone you see as above you. Watch the language. Count how many times you pedestal, how many times you over-explain, how many times you ask for time, attention, or advice without offering anything equal in return. Then you stop. From now on, anytime you speak to someone with more power, status, or resources than you, you follow 2 rules. 1 line of respect, 1 move of value. That's it. Day 2, you sharpen 1 edge. Pick a lane. Not in your head, on paper. What is the one area where if someone powerful got close enough, they'd say, this person is genuinely useful? Maybe it's design. Maybe it's operations. Maybe it's research. Maybe it's understanding human behavior. Whatever it is, you make a list of ways that edge could reduce friction, increase leverage, or protect someone with power. Then you commit to deepening that edge. Not someday, now. You are not allowed to approach real power as an unsharpened tool. Day 3, you go silent intentionally. Stop commenting everywhere like a stray dog looking for scraps. For 24 hours, you do not post, you do not react, you do not chase. Instead, you study. You watch how powerful people move, how they speak, what they complain about, what they ignore, what they praise, what they reward. You are reprogramming your brain from audience mode to observer mode. On this day, you also decide whose world is actually relevant to yours.
Not whose fame excites you, whose reality intersects with the fortress you are building. Day 4. You send one precise shot. You take someone whose path truly aligns with yours, not someone you want clout from, someone whose moves and mindset match your game. You study something they've said or done recently. You identify a gap, a missing angle, or a way to amplify it. You create something small and sharp, a breakdown, an improvement, a resource, a test. Then you send one message, concise, respectful, self-contained. It does not beg for response. It does not scream for attention. It simply offers a blade. Then you walk away. No double text, no just checking in. You'll either hear back eventually or you won't. Either way, you've done what 99% never do. You've shown up as an asset instead of a fan. Day 5. You watch your emotional swings like a scientist. Anytime you feel that desperate urge to refresh, to check if they saw it, to send another line, you pause. You don't suppress it, you observe it. You ask, what am I afraid will happen if they ignore me? What am I making their silence mean about me? This is where the shadow work bleeds into power. You'll notice it's not really about them. It's about old patterns, being overlooked, being the invisible one, the one who gives and never gets chosen. You don't fix that by chasing harder. You fix it by refusing to let that wound drive your behavior. Power recognizes power. Not always immediately, not always fairly, but over time it feels the difference between someone who needs to be chosen and someone who has already chosen himself. Day 6. You become rumor-worthy at your current level. Instead of hunting for the biggest possible name to impress, you turn to your own environment and ask a brutal question. If the people around me described me honestly, would they say I am dangerous in a useful way or just a good guy who tries? Then you raise the standard. You show up sharper in your current commitments. You underpromise and overdeliver. You keep your word even when nobody is watching. You solve problems without being asked. You become so reliable, so composed, and so refined in your lane that people start talking. Not with empty hype, with quiet respect. Because here's the truth. If you're sloppy at the bottom, you'll be a liability at the top. Powerful people didn't get there by failing to read that. Day 7. You decide your identity. Not who you post as, who you are when no one is watching. You choose between 3 roles: prey, pawn, or player. Prey wanders through life hoping the world will be kind. Pawns beg for bigger pieces to move them. Players study the board, sharpen their value, control their state, and build alliances slowly, strategically, ruthlessly. You don't become a player by accident. You become one the moment you stop trying to escape responsibility for your own power. You stop waiting for a mentor to rescue you. You stop waiting for a network to validate you. You stop waiting for powerful people to open doors, and you start moving like someone who sooner or later will build his own. And here's the paradox. The moment you no longer need them, the moment your sense of movement is not dependent on their response, is the moment you finally become interesting to them. Because you're no longer a liability. You're no longer a fan. You're a force. Maybe small for now, maybe unknown, but a force. If you apply these 13 laws, something subtle will begin to shift. You'll notice people with more power speaking to you differently, less like a teacher to a student, more like one operator to another. You'll notice they test you a little, then push slightly more responsibility your way. You'll notice invitations, not dramatic, not flashy, just small doors opening where before there were walls. You'll also notice who falls away. The ones who liked you for your softness will resent your spine. The ones who benefited from your constant availability will hate your boundaries. The ones who preferred you harmless will be threatened by your clarity. Let them go. You are not building this new posture to impress the crowd. You are building it so that when power shows up, you don't flinch, fold, or fawn. You meet it eye to eye. You understand this world is driven by self-interest, fear, and vanity. You don't whine about it. You navigate it. You leverage it. You refuse to be its victim. From now on, you don't approach powerful people as if they are gods and you are dust. You approach them as if they are kings and queens in their own domains, and you are quietly raising your own banner in the distance. One day, your fortress will be visible from their walls. One day, they'll look out and see that you were never just someone in the crowd. You were a rival in the making, an ally in disguise, a player shaping himself in the shadows. If you want more of this, more laws, more powerful psychological weapons, more frameworks for turning quiet resentment into ruthless growth, then stay. Not for me. Stay because you finally decided that being harmlessly intelligent is no longer acceptable to you. Stay because you're done playing the wide-eyed child in a world run by wolves. Subscribe, follow, keep watching, whatever the platform calls it, not as a favor, but as a contract with yourself. I will not stay prey. I will not stay pawn. I will become a player. And when you finally do connect with powerful people, you won't be begging for a seat. You'll be negotiating from one.